6 o'clock.
Yep. Good evening, everybody. It is 6 p.m., so we will get started with tonight's Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission meeting. We will start with roll call. Ryan Miller, that's me, I am here. Kyle Moraskin.
Here.
Marianne Atkinson.
Here.
Kenneth Haynes.
Here.
Christy Kennard.
Here.
Dorothy Wayne is out of town this evening. And Muhammad Alam.
Here.
Very good.
She may not want to speak once she's done with him explaining it to her.
Okay, and this
And
is
she'd be the number 3.
number 3, okay. Okay, if I can have everybody stand for the pledge, please. Okay, thank you. And so no additional comment cards outside of the public hearings? Okay. Okay, then we will start with our public hearings tonight, which we have several of. This will be your opportunity to come up and express your concerns, questions, anything to the commission, but the commission can't respond to you. This will just be your opportunity to speak and let your thoughts be heard. Anybody gets up to speak, if you'll just come up to the podium, please, speak into the microphone so we get it for the record, and state your name and address, and if you'll limit your comments to 3 minutes. So we'll start with the first public hearing at 6:02. See, first public hearing is to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of 1.5 acres located at 20514 Highway 6, Manvel, Texas, from Light Commercial District, State Highway 6 Overlay District to Light Commercial District, State Highway 6 Overlay District with specific use permit, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the use of property for NAICS use code 532120, truck, utility trailer, and RV, recreational vehicle rental and leasing, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. Do I have anybody who would like to make any comments on this public hearing? Second call for comments. And final call for this public hearing. So we'll close this hearing at 6:03. Our second public hearing for tonight, to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of approximately 1.1 acre tract of land located at 7050 Masters Road, Manvel, Texas, northwest corner of Lewis Lane and Masters Road intersection from Highway Mixed Use District to Highway Mixed Use District with a specific use permit, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the property for NAICS use code 6244 child daycare services, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation or any provision hereof. So we will open this public hearing at 6:04. And do I have anybody that would like to speak on this? Yes, sir. Either one. You can wrestle for it.
Good evening, commission members. My name is Jose Cavazos. I am the project manager for the architect of this design. So this design was based off of a child care facility, daycare facility. We had a lot of challenging aspects that we needed to design for in order to meet the SUP requirements. A couple of them, we're asking for exceptions due to the special conditions that the site provided, including the minimum setback rear lot width of 60 feet, due to the configuration of the site being a triangular shape. Another one was to allow usage of the parking with towards the street side as opposed to the rear. And again, this is due to the configuration of the site, mainly because of the fact that we would like to provide a safe and accessible route for vehicular traffic and drop-off line, and that would allow a lot safer route for the child's drop-off lines. We are pursuing a sidewalk variance due to lack of connectivity and a significant amount of redevelopment at the corner with the utilities. We are meeting most of the requirements set forth by the commission as far as providing barriers, providing the visibility triangle, and enough parking to serve the property. Now, the configuration of the property did kind of set us into this type of design in order for us to be able to meet most of the requirements. But we are trying to provide as much of the required design requirements as best as we could. Now, the lack of connectivity is due to, on the sidewalk, is due to the lots north of us are just, there's no plan for development. They're basically lots that don't see any development happen within the near future, such as a monument sign, for example, and the other one would be a detention pond. Now, the daycare itself does provide a different kind of service than other daycares around the property. They mainly have a focus on outdoor activity and a lot more physical activity. So it's mainly geared to more of a natural setting for the children as far as having outdoor spaces and a lot more physical activity. We don't foresee a high impact in traffic due to the fact that it's a smaller daycare. The impact to the traffic is minimal just because of the volume and occupancy load that's going to be provided, but also because there's an open drop-off and pickup time for the daycare. So they have a little bit more flexibility than a standard school would.
Okay. So can I interrupt you there for just 1 second? It sounds like you have a little bit more detail, and we might need that, but we'll get into that during the discussion part of it, if you don't mind. So I'm going to give you your 3 minutes there, and then we'll pick up later if we need to.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the intro. I guess I had a lot of questions coming out here. I know that 1.1 acre parcel, that was the terrace estates that they built that development over the last couple of years.
Yes, sir. And if you could just give us your name and address too, please.
I'm sorry, Kevin Schmidt, 5729 Weir Road, Manvel. Moved down here about 4 years ago from the city. Manvel's great, thank you. So, as I've gotten to know the city, the traffic patterns a little bit, I know that corner of Lewis and 1128. My question or concern would be, where is the egress? Is that off Lewis Lane, 1128? I imagine that probably wouldn't have that. So that'd be my one question. We have a daycare right across the street from there. That's the Tiny Toons. I'm not sure if there's on the permits or if it's plans that there would be another daycare that would be built. So that'd be 1, 2, 3 daycares right in a row. Traffic horrible, probably about the same time every morning and evening. So full disclosure, I do have 2 kids in daycare here in Manvel. And let's see, so I guess I heard a few different variances. I'm in commercial real estate. It makes me nervous whenever I hear variances. Minimum setback, is that the setback from, and this just maybe more clarification, is that the setback from 1128 or is that from Lewis or from both? And I I guess what really bothers me too is I don't want to see cars parked there all day long before I see a nice, pretty building. So I was wondering how the parking was going to be handled on that triangular parcel, ingress and egress. And I see the other daycare, people coming 4 or 5 o'clock, 5:45, 5:50, whatever it is, you have 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars backed up. And on that small parcel, that's then weeding out into the street. You know, the Tiny Toons, that's the other one that's across the street, they have 2 ingress egress routes. And you can double up those, you can park 12 cars, 15 cars before it backs up. So I guess that would be my concern. There is that weird corner, you got a lot of electrical things, you got that big grate that small children, maybe small children could fall through. It's a weird corner, you got a lot of school, a lot of activity. I don't know, it just seems a lot of activity for there. When you first built that Terra Estates, why didn't you come to the city of Manvel and put it all in one plan? You know, there's the same parcel price, same ownership. It seems backwards. And then outdoor space, I'm not sure where that is. If you build a building, is that in the triangular part at the end, or is it behind the building? You know, by the I guess the fence. And I think that more or less hit my questions, my comments. I guess I just don't know enough to know enough. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the comments. And I did have one comment that was emailed into. I'm going to go ahead and read in. This was from Salem Madka. I apologize if I have butchered that. And also Ms. Kesha from Tiny Toons and Little Rascals, respectively. Here they are against it, and their full comments are in the record. If they're here this evening, would they like to make any comments? Yes, ma'am.
I've been in this area for about 14 years. Love being in Manvel. I'm very opposed of having that building there. The congestion is already there. To put another daycare with Little Rascals and I being there, I just don't think it's a good fit to be put there. Again, I would love to expand my business. I just purchased the 3 acres right next to my building, so I'm proposing to actually extend my business. So I think it'd just be the traffic would be horrible to put right there for another daycare to be literally right across from my center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments for this? Yes, sir.
So, my name is Salim Makta. I'm the owner of the Little Rascals here. I'm not sure, of course, the new builder might have researched it much more than whatever they did. But looking at the like the supply and demand, you know, the capacity we have along with Tiny Toons and our daycare centers, we have never been able to fulfill it like more than 60% so far. And so I'm not sure where is the other kids kind of coming from. So it's going to be like, it seems like too many daycares at one place and just right next to each other would not be a good business strategy for all 3 of them, you know, going forward. So for that reason, I definitely pose for that.
Thank you, sir. Second call for comments. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Erica Piper. I'm actually the person trying to develop the school there. And I value hearing everybody's opinions. It's good to have everything out in the open, and so I'm glad that we have this opportunity to speak to that. So I understand that there are other schools nearby, but I also realize that there's a lot of growth and development that's slated, and that childcare scarcity will be an issue that this area will definitely have with the development of Valencia, with Del Bello Lakes building out. Meridiana is continuing to grow toward this direction, and Pomona, as well as the other existing subdivisions that are already built out. Our service will be different from other people's services. And I know that people like to have school choice, and we're trying to offer a different choice to parents who value high quality and want to have an emergent curriculum. The school will be a Reggio-inspired school. There's no Reggio-inspired schools in Brazoria County. There are some in Harris County and in Fort Bend, but none here. When I was a parent, preschoolers, we drove all the way into Houston to have a nature-based Reggio-inspired school. As a Manvel resident, I'm trying to bring this type of care to my local community. So what we will offer is an emergent curriculum. It's not the type of curriculum you typically see that's pre-written and scripted. Instead, the teachers are observing the children and noticing their skill sets and interests, and then building the curriculum based off of that. A lot of the things that you traditionally see indoors will be brought outdoors. So we're gonna, instead of having a traditional playground, we're gonna have a playscape. And the books are gonna come out, the math manipulatives are gonna come out. We're going to invest in developing that land so the kids can enjoy art outdoors and have more physical activity and connection with nature. Also, we're gonna have low ratios. We're gonna exceed the ratios that the state of Texas calls as minimum, and we want to align ourselves with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, NAEYC, which is a premier accreditation company or professional organization. And so we want to offer those smaller ratios to children so that they can have more one-on-one care. Also, we want to have an emphasis on professional development and offer our teachers paid planning time so that they can create the curriculum that I mentioned earlier. As far as concerns about like the location of the lot, because it is triangular, it's limited, but we want to maximize the amount of space that the children have. So we would actually have multiple playscapes so that the children can be outdoors concurrently and not hit the maximum amount of children in the space allowed by licensing. So hopefully you're interested in this project. I really do want to bring high quality care to our community, and I'm committed to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And second call for comments on this public hearing. And
Yes, so I would like to say is that we offered almost the same things, outdoor play and, curriculums and all that.
yes, sir.
These things are not something, every daycare may have different things, but again, having too many daycares in one place is too much saturation.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
But the things that,
Yes, sir.
she said, we already offered those.
Wait,
Out of order.
Yes, sir.
Out of order.
Yeah.
okay. Any additional comments from anyone else on this?
Another question would be, can we see the plans or the pictures?
When we get to the discussion portion, we can hopefully get some of that up on the screens. Any additional questions? Comments? Okay, we will have final call for comments and close this public hearing at 6:18. Okay, public hearing number 3. Is to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the city of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of approximately 1.455 acres located at 7355 McCoy, Manvel, Texas, currently zoned light commercial district, State Highway 6 overlay district with specific use permits, to allow NAICS use 813110 religious organization by expanding the list of permitted NAICS uses of the property to include community center, gymnasium, advanced community empowerment programs, memorial assistance ministry, alcoholism counseling, WIC family welfare services, food bank services, child daycare, coffee shop, GED classes, and event center reception hall, providing for conditions to authorize the additional use of the property and parking lot expansion, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. Okay, we will open this public hearing at 6:20. And any comments for this public hearing?
I just have, I'm Tracy Bird.
Yes, ma'am.
On the property next door to that particular location.
Yes, ma'am.
And I didn't know what the plans were for the construction of the parking lot. And I wanted to make sure that appropriate plans were made such that the drainage didn't negatively affect my property next door. And that's the reason for me being here, because I don't know what the plans are. I heard a little bit just a minute ago, but I have not heard anything about what those plans are. And that's my only concern.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I also have one additional email comment here that was from 7310 Wilson Drive from Larry. I'm going to butcher it. That's the address, though. They are against it, and the full record of that is with the city secretary. Very good. Okay, second call for comments for this public hearing.
I'll just keep asking questions.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Schmidt, 5729. My question is, are they building another structure? Is it the back of the property? I think this is a church, I did Google Maps, right? So it's an existing structure. Are they going to do it under the same roof, or are they building another structure? Is that taking any money or things away from the coffee shops, the people that sell donuts in town, or daycare? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And second call for comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Marcus Rives. I'm the designer for the project,
Yes, sir.
and I'm just here to answer any questions you guys might have. Just want to let you know I'm here.
Okay, thank you. When we get to the discussion portion, we'll call you back up. And second call for comments? And final call for comments for this public hearing? Okay, we'll close this public hearing at 6:22. Okay, fourth and final public hearing. To hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by changing the zoning classification of approximately 82.6 acres of land located at the southwest corner of Quarry Road, County Road 58, and State Highway 288, intersection generally bound by State Highway 288 to the west, Quarry Road, County Road 58 to the north, Cooper Ditch to the east, and Del Bella Lake subdivision to the south, and located within Brazoria County Municipal Utility District Number 79 and in the city of Manvel, from open planned unit development district to planned unit development district, and adopting a PUD document providing for zoning and development related provisions and requirements, such tracts being situated in the ACH BRR County Survey Abstract Number 459, Brazoria County, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in the amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. So we will open this public hearing at 6:23. And any comments for this public hearing? Second call for comments?
Question? What does
Yes, sir.
that mean? I know that parcel, 82 acres south, like 288.
It needs to come up to the podium and make official
Yes, sir.
comment.
To the podium, please.
The public hearing.
I guess my question is, I'm not sure what that means. I knew that 82 acres on the 288, but is this for discussion later? I just,
Yes, sir. And second call for comments? And final call for comments. Okay, we'll close this public hearing at 6:23. Okay, on to our agenda for the evening. Start with our consent agenda. We have two items on there. One, to approve the preliminary plat for Meridiana Section 24B, and approve the meeting minutes to date. Is everybody okay with proceeding like that, or they want to pull anything out?
I do have one quick question on that. I'm assuming y'all have all the signatures, because the copy I have does not.
So this particular plat is a preliminary plat?
But I'm just saying, I mean,
Yeah, so what happened on this one was, this was previously approved, but then the approval had expired because the final plat hadn't submitted. So they are bringing it back. However, they may have used the final plat formatting, and that's why all the signatures are missing,
Okay.
because the preliminary won't be signed.
other than
Staff is
that, I'm good.
recommending approval.
Okay, then, I'll take motions.
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And motion carries 6-0. Okay, our regular agenda item A, consideration possible action to approve the final plat for Meridiana Section 24B. Jose, you want to give us a rundown on that?
This is the final plat for the preliminary plat that was approved as part of the consent agenda. This is a section within the Meridiana development that was established as an OPUD in 2009. It's within the MUD 57. It's within Brazoria County MUD 57. It's located along the southern side of North Inspiration Way. The residential lots in this section are minimum 55-foot wide lots. The plat has a deficiency based on which staff is not recommending approval, and that is the drainage district approval for the plat has expired. Provide updated drainage district signature on the face of the plat. Additionally, revise the year in the PD&Z signature block to 2023. The staff, the applicant is here if you all have any questions of the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, all.
Thank you.
Brad Schweitzer with EHRA Engineering. So I understand the staff's position on the DD5 approval expiring. But this is a little bit complicated in that construction, for DD5 approval not to expire, construction needs to begin on the project. And because of the Meridiana OPUD, we're allowed to begin rough grading on the project before final plat approval. So technically, construction has begun on the project and is ongoing currently. And so in lieu of that information, I would ask that you vote in approval of this project because by the DD5 guidelines, this approval has not expired.
This information is coming to staff at this point where there's no way for us to verify some of this information. So staff would continue to recommend the same.
And I would also add in that the comment that we addressed just said provide DD5 signatures. And so we were not under the understanding that the city believed that the plat had expired. We were under the understanding that we just needed to provide the signatures, which we had already gotten last year, in September of last year.
So that comment was because the signature page wasn't included, or the page that was included did not have signatures. So that's why the comment said provide signatures, and we assumed that you would provide signatures that are not expired, basically.
So my question to y'all then is what impact does this have? I mean, if this was already approved, nothing has changed, what impact does this have?
Impact as in?
If this approval is expired, what impact is?
We can't say for sure because we haven't looked into things. There's no way for us to verify the fact. So usually the preliminary plat is approved and the construction doesn't begin until final plat approval. So,
right, but if let's assume that approval from the drainage district is expired, what implication does that have?
I can tell you. So basically what will happen is we will need to go back to DD5 commissioners and they will need to re-sign it, or we get some sort of granting of the extension of approval, some letter, something like that. But we can't resubmit until that's resolved. And so it's a minimum of a 4-month or a 4-week process to resubmit something to Manvel. Drainage district only meets once a month. And so we're probably talking a 2-month delay. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled with the city tomorrow at 9:30. We were hoping to begin construction on Wednesday, and we have a contractor who's ready. They would have to demobilize, and it would not be good for the contractor either, let alone the long delay because of this issue.
Bobby, is there a
It's almost like it needs to be contingent on
a conditional approval here that's
correct information.
that's simple?
We still wouldn't be able to issue because they wouldn't remedy.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, I don't really mean to step in front of Bobby. With the conditional approval, you still wouldn't remedy the condition in order for us to release a permit for construction of this section. We do schedule pre-con meetings the day after these plats here. It's tentative, so if something were to go astray and you wouldn't get that approval, we would not still have that meeting.
Right.
But we won't be able to issue the civil site permit to begin that construction because you haven't remedied the condition that's been put on the plat. You can do it, I just don't know where it gets Meridiana to mobilize by tomorrow or Wednesday, so.
We're more than happy to provide any kind of documentation to the city from the drainage district in lieu, in time, if we can approve this plat and move forward, because like Joe said, nothing has changed, or like you said, nothing has changed on the plat since they approved it.
Right.
They recently approved the construction plan since September of this year, so it's, they're on board with us moving forward. It's just,
Okay.
Okay,
So-
I'm sorry, let me
yeah,
get
go
this
ahead.
straight. Y'all's expired with us, but not the drainage district, is that what I understand?
no, the staff's contention is that our plat expired with DD5.
Okay.
So Bobby, is there any approval here that would still, get this extension from DD5?
Well, just, even if you do the conditional approval, there's no guarantee.
I mean, no,
that it would
if
start.
we just approved it, but is there a way to add a request to get this other document, to shore this up from DD5?
But that would be the conditional approval, would be conditional upon proving that DD5 has still got
So that would
a
be
live approval, I guess.
So that would be our only instrument, would be the conditional approval, but that still doesn't
Unless-
solve the problem.
Unless Jessica or Joe's can think of another way to word the condition, but I think this is something that came up pretty late, so without a way to verify, and then if it still doesn't quite give them the relief they need to begin on Wednesday, I don't know if 2 weeks or however long it takes to resubmit would help them or not.
Joe's or Jessica, any thoughts?
So for conditional approval, we wouldn't be bringing it back to you to remedy. Staff could do that. So if a conditional approval happened contingent on that verification by the drainage district, let's say that happens on Thursday, then on Thursday, we can go about that. It's just, like I said, Joe's mentioned in the very beginning, we found out this information right before your meeting started. So we're not able to verify anything to give you a better recommendation. So I do apologize.
Okay. Any questions from up here?
Yeah, I had to go through the same process one time, almost like a couple of years back, but it's not in this city, but different city, Iowa Colonies area. Can you get a letter that will say from the drainage district that there's nothing changes? I mean, like something like this, or do you already have something like this?
I'm very confident we could get a letter like that. We really haven't had this situation where we submitted a plat a year in advance, basically. But we're very familiar and work well with their engineering consultant, and I'm confident we could get a letter stating that.
So that will take like maybe a couple business days?
We could get it tomorrow. But yeah, probably.
If there's no changes, I mean, like, unless the city has any special restrictions on the drainage, I just feel like that we just like all documentation administrative, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point only.
Okay.
May I just add one little thing?
Yes, sir.
So, one of the complications with this is also that the preliminary plat had expired.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no preliminary plat, and I'm not 100% sure if the construction is also possible without the preliminary plat approval. So I, without having spoken with somebody from the drainage district, cannot assume that they would be absolutely okay with it without going through another review. I mean, I'm pretty sure Brad is confident about it. So staff has that hesitation to give a recommendation because part of the process, preliminary plat and final plat review process also is that collaboration with the drainage district whereby
So
plat signature block says that the signature will expire in 365 days, and when we are looking at it, the preliminary plat has expired. We don't have any information on whether it was construction was begun or not. We haven't issued any permit, so it's just that difficult situation we are in.
So a conditional approval upon verification that the drainage district approval is still in force, or they receive an updated one, would meet your requirements then? Would meet your needs?
Bobby on that.
I'm uncertain if they'll actually have to sign it again because the signature block, as Joe's pointed out for the drainage district, said 365 days. And 365 days was sometime in September. So recording it with that signature block the way it is not correct, I guess. That's why I could put it. So that would have to get signed again. So that signature sheet would be true and correct to the action.
I think I would push back a little bit on that because the signature block says construction must begin within 365 days. So they may want to sign it again, but I don't think it's entirely necessary. They wouldn't want to sign it again.
Again, we didn't know. We can't verify it, so we're just throwing just different scenarios out there.
Right. So if you can clear, essentially, if we give you conditional approval, if you can clear this hurdle, then life is fine. If y'all can't come to an agreement, then they have to go back and do whatever they have to do to get this document. Okay. Any other questions up here? No? Okay. I will make a motion to give a conditional approval, provided that they can clear the discrepancy with the drainage district's approval, either being replaced with a new one or proving that it can't expire to staff's satisfaction. Okay.
You want to give any time limit?
I'm sure there's already time limits out there on it, right? No, yeah. Anybody second that?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0.
I'm going to have a seat, but I'm available for questions on the next several items.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, agenda item B, consideration possible action to approve preliminary plat for Meridiana Section 34A. And Joe's, I'll just ask you now, is it advantageous to combine any of these? B, C, or D, or E?
They all have different conditions, but we can approve with, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have different conditions, but they're all conditional approval.
Okay. Well, we can run through them separately, that's fine. So this is for section 34A then?
So this one is one of their denser products. It's within the village center area. It's right at the city limit line. This one staff is recommending conditional approval because the comment is provide drainage district approval of a preliminary drainage plan. The letter of no objection provided does not reference approval of the drainage plans.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Comments, concerns, motivational things? No? I'll take motions then.
Make a motion to approve
With or without conditions?
with conditions.
I'll second.
All those in favor? And the motion carries 6-0. Is that right, Kenneth? You were affirmative there?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I missed you.
You may combine the next two. They're
Okay.
pretty similar.
Okay, and we will combine agenda items C and D. Consideration of possible action to approve the preliminary plat for Meridiana Cadence Drive Phase 2 and Meridiana Section 14B. Joes?
So these two sections, staff is recommending conditional approval. They have two deficiencies that staff is pointing out, one being the same as the last one, where we are asking that the preliminary drainage plan approval be provided from the drainage district. And the other item is the fact that both these plats include certain acreages that has been part of another preliminary plat. And we are requiring that we don't have a solution right now, but applicant works with staff to provide a solution where it can be clarified so that there's no confusion in terms of construction plans, final plat approval, and all of that.
Okay. Questions? No? Motions?
Yep, I move that we accept regular agenda items C and D with conditions.
I'll second.
All those in favor? And that's 6-0 again. Motion carries. Okay, agenda item E, consideration and possible action to approve the preliminary plat for Meridiana Section 82 Detention Reserve. Joes?
So this is a reserve that Meridiana Development is planning to include within their development. Right now, the GDP doesn't capture this acreage. Staff is recommending conditional approval because of a few items. One, we need a preliminary drainage plan approval from the drainage district. Number two, the abandonment process of Bissell Road is under review, and we're still working on it. It hasn't been completed yet. We're conditioning that be completed prior to the approval of this. And finally, as I mentioned, this acreage is not within Meridiana's GDP. However, staff has received an application on a PUD amendment, and staff is suggesting that the GDP process be made part of that PUD amendment. And as it is still in the review process, we would recommend conditional approval on this plan.
Questions?
I have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
just because I'm not sure I understand. The abandonment of Bissell Road, what exactly does that mean? And it's on the west side of Meridiana, southwest corner? Is that correct, or?
With this plat in particular, this is for the detention plat. It's on the north side, Bissell. So that's part of an application that has been submitted to abandon. So what you'll see eventually with this detention piece and the lift station is an additional sections of Meridiana that aren't in the current GDP, which is why we're working through a process for a PUD amendment as well as approval for the general development plan to include it. It is, I believe, still within Med 57, it's just not in their general plan. So their request is to abandon Bissell. So that would be, it doesn't connect right now physically and never will with Meridiana Parkway. It would go underneath, but it would just be for that abandonment up until the end of that property, which I think is where it reaches a canal or ditch.
And it's undeveloped right now, correct?
It's
just like a
Haddock's
right-of-way.
Pond is that area that it's called, Haddock Pond. Does that make sense?
Additional questions? Okay, motions?
Which one are we on? We're on
E.
Okay. I make a motion that we conditionally approve item E.
Second that.
All those in favor? And motion carries 6-0. Very good. Okay. Agenda item F, a consideration of possible action to approve the preliminary plat for Brazoria County Municipal Utility District number 57, lift station number 2. Joes?
This reserve also is pretty much similar to the previous item. This is not part of the GDP right now, but this is not affected by Bissell Road abandonment. So staff has two comments. One is to provide the drainage district approval for the preliminary drainage plan, and the other one being to amend the GDP as part of that PUD amendment process. Staff is also providing a note regarding the requirement for construction of all perimeter roads, which the applicant is already aware and has indicated that they would be performing that construction. So with that, staff is recommending conditional approval.
Okay. Questions? No? I'll make a motion to approve then with the two staff recommendations. Conditional approval with the two staff requirements.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? And motion passes 6-0. Agenda item G, consideration and possible action to approve and forward recommendation to City Council the ordinance number 2023-0-40, which is going to be these are the zoning changes we discussed last time that were tabled, correct? Yeah, very good. I know I read over those earlier, and I really like the changes.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion on it.
A lot of discussion. I think I only had one comment on the red line version. I didn't read the non-red line version, so I don't know if it still appears there. It just looked like a sentence got jumbled a little bit. Let me pull it back up here so I can. In the red line version, page 29 of the PDF and of the document, section 4C, number 2, rock board not exceeding 6 inches shall be included in wooded. I think it's supposed to be wooden. And is that it, or is there another one? I think it was just the way the rest of that sentence went on, including wooden fence construction and top cat not exceeding 2 inches height, maybe. Okay. Maybe it's just that word then. Suggestion.
Yeah, that's a typo. It should
Yeah, it
be
was just a little
wooden
typo.
instead of
Yeah,
wooden.
that was it.
Yeah.
And did y'all have any info you wanted to give us on it? I just didn't want to forget that.
I don't think so. When you looked at it, we did give you a clean version, a red line version, and then you have the ordinance. The red line version, what was changed is highlighted from what you previously saw to make it, a little bit easier. But we took into account the information that was provided by the CAP, the rock board, and then those engineering, standards for, masonry fences, and not trying to penalize people that had a wooden fence with all that and 6 feet. So I think Joe's did a good job at hearing all of that and putting it, except for our typo that's in here. So I don't know if we need to make an amendment to the ordinance if they recommend it, Bobby.
Is that the only one? There may be other comments. It's the first time you've seen it, so there may be other comments or other changes. I don't know.
That was the only comment I personally had. If anybody else has any comments, now would be.
On the data sheet, we have 3 bullet points that kind of summarizes the change. One was based on our last discussion. We were directed to provide like a minimum depth requirement for the wood fence posts, which we've included. And rather than giving a number, we've given it based on the general rule of thumb where 1/3 of the height of the post above ground.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, and what that does is that takes care of 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, and 8 foot is the maximum they can have. The other item we added was regarding the requirement for professional engineering drawings. We amended it revised it for that to apply only to masonry fences and masonry pillars that are taller than 6 feet. And finally, we also added a language that required masonry walls that has like continuous foundation. Those, depending on certain factors, the city engineer may require engineering drawings irrespective of the fence height. Those were the 3 changes that we made.
Any other questions or comments before we make a recommendation to city council for this one? No? Motions then? Yes, sir.
Highlighted, I'm not sure if you're talking the right place or not. Rezoning the word, because it's not going to make only changes, affect this fences, but it also going to affect other rezoning, anything about the rezoning, right?
Oh, yes, yeah, and I thought we had discussed all of that last meeting, so I didn't bring it up. So the amendment to the zoning ordinance, fence is just one piece of it. There are a few other items that we are including. The highlighted area did not cover some of those things, but the red line does cover. Like, one of the change was adding that section about rezoning, which kind of referenced the Texas Local Government Code provisions, so that the zoning ordinance captures the rezoning process. Then we also included a change to the minimum lot size requirements for open single-family district, so that if there's a right-of-way dedication made and the acreage goes slightly less than 1 acre, you don't have to go through another variance or whatever process. So we made that change. And then there were some typos that we changed. We had the fence, that was a big item. And I believe that was it. And we added some definitions in to, depending on what was added. And another thing that was changed was we took out the facade-related requirements to reflect the legislative update that prohibited cities from requiring those specific requirements. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Was there anything else? Motions?
I move that we accept item number G with the noted typo correction.
Okay. Second. All those in favor? And the motion carries 6-0. Okay. Agenda item H. Consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council ordinance number 2023-0-42. This is going to be 1.5 acres. This is the truck utility trailer and RV SUP. Yes, sir.
So this is a request for an SUP. This is for the property, the shopping center that we have, where we have the library on Highway 6. So we had a potential business owner who wanted to lease a space in that building reach out to us to start a U-Haul business. And as you all already know, our zoning land use allowance is based on the NAICS code classification system. And based on that classification system, this particular use will require an SUP within the light commercial district. And that's where this shopping center is located at. Staff reviewed the request, and staff is recommending approval based on a few conditions listed in the report. Staff does not anticipate a lot of any negative impact based on this use, based on the scale that the applicant is proposing it to be. So some of the conditions listed would capture that understanding that at this scale, this is fine. The specific U-Haul business that they're proposing is fine, but this SUP doesn't open it up for the entire code where it could go to renting and leasing of RVs and all of that. So I would like to quickly read the conditions that we are listing. The first condition is that the land use allowance of this specific use permit is limited only to renting and leasing of trucks and utility trailers. Number 2, only one business categorized under NAICS use code number 532120 is permitted at any given time. Number 3, the gross floor area of a business categorized under this code shall not exceed 1,500 square feet. Number 4, parking of rental vehicles shall not block access to the property or impede on-site traffic movement. Number 5, parking of rental vehicles shall be restricted to the side or rear of the building and shall not extend past the front line of the principal building. Number 6, parking spaces required for this use shall be marked and shall conform to the requirements of section 77-45, which is the parking within our zoning district. All public hearing requirements were met for this request, and the proposed SUP conforms to the comprehensive plan goals. specifically which states benefiting from our strategic location by encouraging well-planned quality retail, commercial, and residential development that reflects and enhances our small-time quality of life. Inclusion of this proposed use provides a commercial service to the community without impacting the small-town quality of life. So the applicant has provided an exhibit that you can see on the screen too, that is added in the ordinance so that the specific area where parking is allowed is indicated.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
So they're leasing that space in the back?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's where the bamboo walk was, or is it around the corner?
in the front of it.
Okay, so around the corner from
Because
that.
I guess that's my thing, you want to make sure it's not causing parking issues for somebody that wants to go and lease. If somebody wanted to go lease where Bamboo Walk was or whatever, you don't want there to be an issue with parking
that's
for
what
other
I was
patrons and other businesses. That's why you've limited it to that back section?
Correct.
Okay.
And I believe the lease space that they're going in previously used to be a barber shop, maybe, if I remember correctly. I'm not.
It hasn't been there since it's been a while since that was there, I think.
And we have the applicant's letter states that they'll have 4 trailers and 4 trucks. For the most part, occasionally they may have a situation where somebody drops it off unplanned and you may have 1 or 2 extra.
Okay. Kyle looks like he has a question.
Well, the map I'm looking at here, it's not that one. It's actually got 2 red lines in it for the property that's in the grass. So that's part of the property, I'm assuming.
Yes, so this entire property includes 3 different units. I'm guessing you're talking about the vicinity map, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all those 3 pieces are part of the property.
So is it all going to be paved for the fact that there's no way there's enough room for parking in there?
No, there's no paving, no additional paving being proposed.
Yeah.
So the total number of parking space over there is over 60 spaces. And based on the square footage that we see there, it meets the minimum requirements of the retail.
That includes all the ADA?
My question is,
That we
though,
haven't looked into for the existing uses.
Then why would we approve this without that?
I mean, as part of their certificate of occupancy process, we'll be looking into all of those requirements before the certificate of occupancy is issued. And this is particularly like a specific use permit where we are trying to see if the use of having a U-Haul lease space being occupied as a U-Haul business creates any negative impact in the area. And one of the conditions listed is that their parking area shall be marked and it shall be in accordance with the parking chapter of the zoning ordinance, which takes care of that concern.
Did that answer your question, Kyle?
I mean, it's just, I've been in that parking lot. I know what it's like, so, and you're talking vehicles that big? I mean, 'cause
But,
there's no way you're going to turn a
That's-
45-foot trailer around.
well, and that's where my question comes in. What kind of trucks are they going to be? And are these trucks going to be sitting on that parking lot and it's going to damage it? And I don't think there'll be any trailers. They'll have to, if that's the case, they'll have to unload on the street. But some of the trucks are, there's 26,000 pounds carrying capacity. And then you got these trucks just sitting on that back side, which, again, like you, I've been in there. That's a horrible area back there.
I mean, it's all paved concrete, correct?
It's all paved, but it's very old, very old. And if there's sitting trailers and trucks on it, and they're just leasing it. So if somebody, like you were saying, somebody comes in and a new tenant comes in and my thing is the trucks that are going to be sitting there, the little trailers that are going to be sitting there, is it going to totally mess up the concrete? Is it going to be a problem?
I mean, on the positive side, they'll be empty while they're sitting there, but
Right,
Yeah, there's nothing in them.
but that's just my whole thing. You're putting, these trucks are gonna sit there, so.
But they would be empty.
No, I know they'd be empty.
And you were saying too, Joe, that part of their application and this is that they're stating they're going to limit what they have on site to where they have marked here,
Within
correct?
that area, but that is like a large area. It's not like that entire area would be covered with vehicles, because they're talking about four
trucks,
utility
four
trucks,
trailers.
and the 4 utility trailers that we generally see at these U-Haul rentals. And just for reference, you can look at the size of some of the other cars that are parked in that satellite image.
I mean, in a sense, you're creating a parking lot, so you're doing with parked trucks or parked
Yeah.
vehicles.
And it is a dead end of that lot, so.
No, it's not. You can get in from the back. Well,
You have
yeah.
access from both
Just off
sides.
screen there? Okay, yeah, I see it
Yeah,
now.
you have access from both
Okay,
sides.
I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jessica would like to.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add a few things about concerns about this. If you've noticed in some of the conditions that staff is proposing, it's limiting the square footage in there for your very concerns that you have about that. So staff, reviewed this and, okay, if at a 50% mark of this building, we could be maybe creating an issue with the existing parking. So that's why we said on this use, whether it's, it's this U-Haul business or if it be another U-Haul business type business that would come in, that limitation is still going to apply because it's going to run with the land. If we don't have full occupancy there, depending on maybe another use that would come in, at the time of occupancy, when we're going through that process, we would make that determination. Let's say if for some reason that existing parking wouldn't be sufficient for all the uses in that building, then at that time, staff would make that request to meet the parking ratio requirements or provide how somehow that shared parking in that space meets the requirements of the code before an occupancy would be issued. So I don't know if those things help you guys with the parking concerns that you have there, but I just wanted to add that in.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions or concerns, then?
Hey, Joe, when they, I guess, submitted for the use of, I know you mentioned that there are 4 trucks and 4 utilities. Did they say what size they were going to be? Are they the big box vans or the
they
smaller
said
ones?
The smaller, regular size.
Okay.
Any motions, then?
So having this ward as
Or
a
questions?
RV, I'm sorry.
Fine, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to clear myself, in there. Having the ward in the RV, rental and leasing, I'm just wondering, is it going to be in the future, they're going to say, oh, we already got the approval for this specific section, they're going to be, you know what, we're not going to put in the truck or utility, we're going to start business over there. Can they, in the future, they can do that types
No.
of business?
No, I think right now we have that condition which restricts it to the small.
Only theirs. The wording though in there.
It's there, yeah.
Okay.
So the wording is from the NAICS codes classification.
Oh, okay, so you just copy and paste on there. Okay. That's my.
Anything else? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, take motions, then?
Move to approve with conditions.
And second?
Second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And all those opposed? What was your vote there?
Oh, I had my hand up.
For yay?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so 5-1. Motion carries 5-1. See, agenda item I, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council ordinance number 2023-0-43. And this is going to be for the child daycare services. Joe's?
So this site is located, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the site. It's part of the Terra Estates. It's that triangle shaped at the intersection of Lewis and Masters. The applicant is proposing a daycare which requires an SUP. SUP, and the applicant, the potential owner of this facility, met with staff, and then afterwards they hired a design team. They put together the application packet. They provided us with a site plan, submitted the application request. Staff reviewed the entire application, provided comments. They made revisions, resubmitted it, and now we are here in front of you all for a recommendation on this. The screen has the site plan that they've provided. As you can see, the shape of the reserve is not very conducive. It's a triangular shape, and as a result of that, there are some restrictions in terms of how you develop it. To answer some of the questions that were brought up previously, the site is being accessed from Lewis Lane. The parking area and the pickup drop-off area is along Lewis Lane. The applicant is proposing a combination of outdoor areas, including play areas, around the building. A bulk of it is along Masters Road, and some of it is on the back area as well. They're proposing a buffer between the residential lots and this property with trees and some grassy area, and a portion of it is already the outdoor play area. As we reviewed, so just an FYI on surrounding zoning, this particular property currently is zoned highway mixed use, which is also the same designation for the Terra Estates. Across from Masters Road, we have the J.B. Hensler College, which has an SUP and is zoned open single-family residential. Across from Lewis Lane, we have the Tiny Toons Daycare, which is zoned light commercial. So when we were reviewing, there were a few issues that came up, which took us a while to kind of review and then for them to redesign and bring back. One of the items was that the highway mixed-use district has a minimum rear property line requirement. Now, that is based on the allowance of highway mixed use where the district allows for residential in the front and non-residential in the back. This property was already platted as part of Terra Estates, and I believe at the time of platting, the assumption was based on the fact that Masters Road will be used as the access, so the rear property has enough to meet the width requirement. However, when Lewis Lane is being accessed, the rear property line will not meet it because of that triangular shape. However, we also have definitions of frontage which allows you to go off based on the property address, which in this case is off of Masters Road, so that issue gets resolved. We also have a zoning requirement that restricts parking to be located in front of the principal building. However, that is based again on the allowance for the highway mixed-use district for having commercial behind residential. So that requirement is so that the residential, the appearance is not disrupted with a whole lot of parking in front of the house. So that is not a huge issue on this because of the land use being daycare, pickup and drop-off being important, and so it makes more sense to not have that requirement apply on this situation based on the land use. The third item, as the applicant or designer had mentioned, was the sidewalk issue, where our major thoroughfare plan, our subdivision ordinance requires a sidewalk along every single street. Sorry, I didn't mention the design criteria manual. Based on all these three adopted plans and documents, a sidewalk is required along every street. And because of the size of this property, the shape of the property, and some of the existing conditions as the architect suggested, a sidewalk was not able to be included along Masters Lane. They are proposing a sidewalk along Lewis. So they've already submitted a subdivision variance request that will go to the city council. Staff hasn't finalized a position as of now. However, based on all the documents that we have and based on some of the recommendations we've made in the past, staff may not be able to recommend approval. However, I would also like to mention that the council has decided sometimes against staff's recommendation, but there's no telling which way this would go. So there is that one unknown at this point in terms of the sidewalk. The other concern that came about was the traffic, as some of the citizens mentioned at the public comment section. Staff had that concern. Staff mentioned that concern to the applicant as well. They provided us with the trip generation related data, and then our engineering department reviewed it. Our city engineer also reviewed some of the input received from a traffic engineer on this, and based on that, that concern was cleared. Staff also went out to take a look at the situation during some of the peak hours. What we noticed is in the general area, there is a buildup in traffic during school times on Masters Road, but it eases out as you go further from the elementary school. Finally, one of the concerns was the outdoor play area. The best practice for daycare generally is that the play area is behind the building, which acts as a buffer from any street or major thoroughfare. In this case, you have play area along Masters. That was one of the concerns that we raised in terms of best practices. However, none of our regulations actually require that the play area be behind the building. In response to staff's concern, the applicant has revised the plans to add like bollards for protection along that side, in addition to a wooden fence.
What did you say they were going to add?
Bollards, which would be like those.
Pipe bollards, yeah.
And also, when staff did some research, what we found is like the state agency that issues licenses, they have their own requirements and they have their own inspection processes for play areas as well. So that's some of the background that we have on the review and all of that review process for this request. This requested SUP is in conformance with the overall goals of our comprehensive plan. Staff is recommending approval with a total of 6 conditions. The first one being that the proposed development would conform to the attached site plan. However, any change necessary to conform with any other adopted codes shall be made as part of construction plan and building permit review process unless a variance is granted separately. That takes care of the sidewalk. If it is approved, it can follow the site plan. If it is not approved, this must be changed to incorporate that. Number 2, parking area with pickup and drop-off areas shall be designed to conform with section 77-45, which is the parking section, and can be located between the primary building and the street right-of-way, providing access. That takes care of that zoning requirement on highway mixed-use district. The third condition is that the fence enclosing outdoor play area along Masters Road shall meet Texas Health and Human Service Commission's minimum standards for child care centers, and the line of bollards along the fence line between the play areas and the property line along Masters Road shall be installed. That is in line with the site plan that is proposed. Then we have 2 conditions that pertains to outdoor lighting, which requires that outdoor lighting is shielded and kind of directed away from residential, since we have a residential abutting. And it's slightly stringent from what we have in the design criteria manual, where the overspill is restricted to 3/10 foot candles in this situation. And a final condition that specifies that buildings shall be designed to meet all the adopted technical codes that we have, including building and fire codes. All the public hearing requirements were met on this one as well.
Thank you. So it sounds like there's already been a lot of planning and back and forth with staff to get all these details. What questions do y'all have for Joe's or for the architect or for the while they're thinking, I'll ask you one question. The proposed sidewalk on Lewis, there's a crosswalk there, if I remember correctly, and there is a sidewalk on the school side of the road already, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that some of the concerns from our visitors here today were about the parking situation coming in off of Lewis Lane. So I know you said that you drove around it. It looks like there's about 20 25 parking spots, I think, if I counted correctly when I was looking.
On this plan?
Yeah, on the plan.
I'm not 100% sure about the exact number, however, I'm sure that it meets the minimum requirement of
Right.
our zoning ordinance, like parking requirement based on the occupancy that they're proposing.
Okay, and so that Circle Drive, I guess is the pickup and drop off part that they were concerned about. And that's where the big Circle Drive is there.
And
I just want to address some of their concerns. I mean,
And one of the things that helped us with the concerns on the parking was the fact that they have flexible pickup drop-off timing, and that's huge compared to.
what do you mean by that? I mean, by flexible pickup and drop off time. I mean, daycares are all kind of like that. What does that mean?
Yes, ma'am, if I could get you to come up to the microphone for me. Thank you.
I am Erica Piper. Thank you for your question. So what we mean by flexible timing is that, unlike at an elementary school where everyone needs to be
Right.
present at 8 a.m., people will be trickling in and out according to that family's needs. So our school day would actually start at 8:30 and end at 2, but we would have an earlier arrival that would start at 7 a.m. and a stay and play that would end at 6 p.m. So depending on the different families' needs, they would be coming and going at different times already.
Okay.
So that's a pretty wide window. Okay.
Well, if it's like any daycare I've dealt with.
I mean, daycares are daycares, right? Most kids
Yeah.
are staying until 6 o'clock. But,
Yeah.
I mean, if they
But
have
you
like
got
a
the
sort of
early
a
morning
preschool
and-
program, that's 8 to 2, and then you've got your, kids.
That'll change the vehicle time, but your normal
Your
will
vast
be,
majority of people are
Yeah.
leaving it.
And
You're
and-
80%.
And you're missing the elementary schools.
Yeah, you're
let-out
definitely
times, too.
outside of
So,
the elementary and the high school
Is
traffic.
the ditch on 1128 going to be redug? And the reason I ask that, because that's a lot
Bobby,
of
are you doing
concrete. That's a lot of concrete to handle that water flow coming from there.
Oh, in terms of
Oh, for
drainage, the
drainage?
drainage for this
Yes,
site
sorry.
has already been factored in as part of Terra Estates.
Okay.
okay, so it's the big lake that's already there.
Because, I mean, under state law anyway, they got to retain it.
See, I like to see actually another business, same business like, childcare business in our city. And I have 2 kids, I have to drop them up in the school. And trust me, every day, only thing I hated most is the line. But my kids don't go to the, childcare, maybe, getting more expensive and all kinds of things. So I'm hoping that competition will bring the low price lower and more affordable. So it's a good sign, and which I like it most. But one of the things actually, everybody is talking the same thing, like about the traffic. And as I said, my kids don't go to this types of places. But if it is the same like regular public schools, that's miserable, really. And sometimes, especially the rainy days, I'm almost like 1 mile away and waiting there almost half an hour. So I'm not sure actually if this maybe need to be more consideration, especially the area, congested area on this corner over there. Just instead of just going through the rules, I mean, I understand the rules allow you to do this a lot of things, but just think about the safety of the people living around and having the business around. Just those things that need to be considered maybe.
I mean, I will say on the positive, just, personal observation here. I mean, like I said, it is a very oddly shaped piece of land that's very restricted. So, I mean, the number of things that you can put on this piece of land are limited. As we've heard, from some of the other public hearings that, people don't want gas stations behind their subdivision and stuff like that, childcare was actually one of the things that they requested to go in there.
4 gas stations right there before,
Yeah.
just in case you need one.
So I mean, this is something that we've heard that people like to have behind their house, or would be willing to have behind their house, I should say.
I mean, the biggest downfall I see here is there's no room to grow.
No, but I mean, you can go up.
I mean, yeah,
Then
it's,
you wouldn't have enough parking, so.
Yeah, possible. But I mean, that's going to have to be their risk they're willing to take, or their plan, their foresight. So, what other questions do y'all have? Somebody ready to make a motion then?
So, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Before we go, so I know during the discussion, we mentioned that there were going to be some pipe bollards along. I don't see any on this diagram. Is that just?
Are those the
I thought
little
those were
circles
trees.
and dots along? I think some are trees. I think the big ones are trees and the small ones are bollards.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah,
In case you're not an engineer, right? Or architecture.
And we have a condition that specifically requires that too.
Okay.
But my recollection is the plans were revised to include those.
Yeah, those look like trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look closer here.
Yeah, now that I've zoomed into 300%, I can see the foliage.
These are the trees, you see those, but then if you go up here, you see.
Yeah, it's
You can
called
see the
out.
difference.
There's a
Yeah,
call out
these
for
are the
that.
bollards,
Okay.
and the big little trees.
And it is in the text of the conditions as well.
Okay.
So the fence between this subdivision over there, lots, and is a house, it just came back to the same thing we discussed earlier, maybe. Is going to be in the future requirement, right, when they get it more final approval or something like that? Those fencings between is there going to be space between these lots with this business? Or this is just empty space? I'm looking at the drawing and it looks like only one common fence, am I correct?
No, they'll be adding their own fence based on the drawings. Jose, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Yeah, based on my recollection on the plan, they'll be adding their own fence too.
Own fence.
And then there's another existing fence. And there'll be a separation, little more than like one parking space. If you look at the plan, just for reference, between the building and the residential area.
Yeah, it's about 25 feet approximately, look like.
Yeah, I think it's not 25, slightly less than 25.
I see there's 25 feet somewhere.
Between the building and the residential property line?
Yes.
I think it's 23 feet and 6 inches.
But that doesn't include your building line, right? Building line format, that's all together, just buffer zone, is it completely separated?
Right, right. There's no separate in addition to a building line.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody got all their questions answered?
I do have one more quick question.
Yes, sir.
It's probably Dan in the back. Usually when you see a reserve with a letter in most plats, it's drainage or open space. I don't see too many with buildings. Is that normal?
So,
If you give me a minute, I can look up the recorded plat and tell you if it restricted anything.
That's what I wanted to know. I couldn't remember, that's why I was, Other than that,
Versus
that's
Reserve
it.
C, is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
Reserve, yeah, because it is weird, usually that's not.
my recollection from the plat is that it's a commercial reserve. So, I've seen residential lots and all other types of uses being called reserves, including commercial. So if you have a commercial plat, it'll be a reserve rather than lot one. But there are some surveyors who use lot also for commercial type uses.
I don't remember.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I did confirm Reserve C is commercial
Nope.
purposes on the plat.
Yeah.
Thank you. What else? Everybody's happy? Happy enough for a motion?
Answer the questions.
I move that we accept item number I with conditions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. Motion carries 5 to 1. Very good. Okay, agenda item J, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council ordinance number 2023-0-44, which is going to be for This is going to be for the church. Yes, for the church. Joe's?
Real quick, again, I know everybody's familiar with the location. It's across from Manvel High School. It wraps around the corner insurance company that we have there. This used to be the former Overflow Church. There is an SUP that was adopted already, and the SUP allows for a church use and some other associated uses. The applicant is requesting an amendment to this SUP to include allowance for permeable pavers for parking area and detention-related calculation because of the size of the property. So this is like, so we have the land use allowance, but the amendment is so that the land use allowance can function at maximum occupancy based on the existing building. They're not adding any new building, and their expansion of the parking can use a certain specific type of pavement instead of the concrete pavement requirement that we have for parking area, so that drainage, additional drainage and detention is not required. They're proposing to use a product called True Grid, which allows for up to 98 to 100% pervious surface. It is the application packet includes a couple of pictures of how the finished product would be, finished parking area would be, and also includes some construction details. It's a engineered paving system which includes gravel and a base and a whole lot of technical stuff that we have our engineers here, we have our designer here who can speak. I don't want to get into details and say something wrong.
Okay.
So they've reviewed it, they've looked at, evaluated the pros and cons on it, and based on our engineering review, we are recommending approval with a few conditions. And I would also want to mention that the request also includes a request to allow for shared parking with the adjoining insurance company based on an agreement they may have. They haven't been able to provide us with the agreement because the property owner passed away and they're in the process of figuring out who would be responsible for signing that letter. So the recommendation is based on 3 conditions. Number 1, the permeable gravel paver system for parking area and drainage construction is permitted in accordance with Exhibit C and Exhibit D in the ordinance and shall be maintained in good condition with no pooling of water, leaves, twigs, trash, debris, or visible dirt. Number 2, shared parking with abutting commercial property located at 19701 Highway 6 in lieu of on-site parking construction is allowed, provided a written agreement between the subject landowners is submitted. Such agreement shall be maintained in the office of the city secretary. Number 3, except as expressly amended by this ordinance, ordinance number 2023-0-44, requirements, regulations, and conditions included in ordinance number 2013-007 and ordinance number 2017-049 remain in full force and effect and unchanged.
Thank you. So just to clarify for myself, so there's kind of 3 pieces here. So they're requesting update to the existing SUP that would basically just expand the definition, the NAICS definition changed over time, or no?
So the land use allowance is continuing to be the same. What the request is to allow for a specific type of paving system so that the detention and parking can be addressed using that specific system. And the way it is related to the land use is that the occupancy of the existing building is tied to amount of parking you can have. And the amount of parking you can have is a factor of your detention and parking requirement. And since the existing site area is limited and the building is existing, they're making this request so that they can have that balance of sufficient occupancy, meet the drainage-related issues,
But
and parking.
it's also expanding the use, the definition of, if I remember correctly, from
Oh, I think you're talking about the two previous ordinances. So there was one ordinance that established an SUP for the church, which was ordinance number, I think it was 2013, the first ordinance, I think it was.
Yeah, by expanding the list of permitted NAICS
Yes.
uses of the property, so that's
That's
already
not this
done?
ordinance. So the first ordinance that established this SUP was ordinance number 2013-0-07. That created the SUP for the church. Then later in 2017, ordinance number 2017-0-49 amended that ordinance to expand the list of uses that you
Okay.
read there.
That
And then now
makes sense now.
This one is amending to specifically include parking and detention.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense now.
So no, this is the one where the neighbor was talking, you were talking about her property. Which property is it that you own?
It's that small strip that runs next, right next.
Can we put the plat up on the screens again?
There's no drainage.
This would be on the east side.
There's no drainage.
Do you live in the home that's right there?
No, it's a third of an acre.
So this particular, because typically we always require concrete, right? Like that's always the thing, it's always concrete, and this is not concrete. And that's because there's not room to do is that what you're saying? There's not room to do detention and concrete. So from what I understand from looking at this, is that this particular type of pavement serves both purposes.
Yes. So so concrete has its own benefits, but one of the things that comes with concrete is surface runoff, and you have to do drainage-related
right.
detention, and all of that comes with it. Now, based on the fact that this is an existing building, limited site area, they're proposing this paving system, which tries to achieve the strength of concrete and the stability of concrete almost. However, it also provides for about almost 100% permeability in terms of water. So there's no surface runoff that'll require catching that water in a detention and slowly releasing it. And we've allowed this in the past for Redeemer Church.
I was about to say, this is the same thing they have at
Correct.
Redeemer.
And one of the downsides of this is like regular and maintenance, you have to be on top of it for its good lifespan. And that's why it was more meaningful to capture it through the SUP, where we can include that condition about maintenance and inspection, which we've tried to capture in our conditions.
But this won't impact like neighboring properties as far as retention and things like
It
that?
shouldn't, based on the review from our engineering team.
So you're saying there's no surface runoff?
Yes, I think we are allowing close to 100%.
No,
Well, the reason I'm going to ask you that.
No
is because
additional
even with
surface.
crushed concrete, you can get surface runoff.
Right.
If you get enough water fast enough, like say Harvey floods, anything else, you're still going to have surface runoff.
On concrete or on this?
on,
I mean, that's,
On any, I mean,
He's saying-
no surface is going to be Harvey-proof.
yeah, he's saying on anything.
yeah.
Right,
I guess that we'll have on grass as well.
yeah.
May I address that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Once again, I'm Marcus Rise, I'm the designer, not the engineer. What Joseph said was correct. It is up to 100% permeable. There is no additional runoff. As you mentioned with Harvey, things like that, everything's going to have runoff, even if it's farmland.
That's the asterisk.
This product, I've seen in action. There's some in Edo near the Houston. There's a restaurant that uses this. I have a picture of it if you want to see it. One of the things that we are considering, do you guys have the site plan?
There's a rendering of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
there's a picture of what it looks like. in
Yeah.
our-
page 16.
298.
One of the things to consider also is that we're actually reducing the amount of impermeable cover on the lot. It might be hard to see on there, but there's some asphalt from is it an insurance company next door?
Yeah.
They actually have overflowed into the church property in their parking lot there. And so we're going to remove all of that asphalt, and and replace it with this new product. So we're actually reducing the amount of covered area.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, 298.
I get more questions.
So that's on everyday use of rain and everything else?
I mean, like, that's actually game changer to me, actually. I never seen like this, really. That's going to be
Of
it.
course, Highway 6 is the worst, but
I mean, it's installed at the Redeemer Church up there, and
Right there on the-
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks nice.
I use it extensively in Bolivar.
So,
The state allows it. Galveston County allows it.
I mean, it's essentially a big honeycomb. It's just reinforcing the
So
paving
I've-
material that's there.
I've used this product before and I'm familiar with it. The only question is it just for small car traffic? It's not. Is it for eight?
Rated for fire trucks and other vehicles.
Okay.
That question did come up with the fire marshal. As far as I know, he seems happy with it.
so you can guarantee the fire truck rating?
They
Some
said.
things weigh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my biggest concern is when you start having that heavy vehicle traffic and they start making those turns
I
on
think
it.
part of that is because of the underlayment and how that's prepared.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the gravel on top, it's how it's
okay.
all installed.
And they have a wide range of product line, I mean, including small parking area, different grades, commercial RVs, and I think they also have it for, like, I believe this is where the parking would be close to like a drainage ditch or a drainage facility. There are like multiple, it's not like a one standard, like a carpet that you roll and we're done. There are
Okay.
different specifications for different application and different type of grade as.
And Joe's, you said you'd put in this SUP that it was supposed to be maintenance and we're going to inspect it? Is that
Yes,
to make sure?
yes.
Okay. And what is actually the lifespan then? Say you have fire trucks running on it and,
I couldn't
you know, I
answer
mean,
that.
what's that?
I don't know the answer to that.
How long has this been around?
Several years, and I've been using it for residential probably 8 or 10 years already.
And is it made with recycled plastic? Or how is it made?
I'm not sure about.
It's according to the brochure, it's 100% recycled.
Okay.
I just know it's high density, high durability, but I don't know if it's recycled.
So the life in terms of the whole permeability completely depends on maintenance and completely depends on how it is used.
Well, and realistically, I mean, you're having traffic there, heavy traffic once a week. I mean, you know,
They want to do whatever they want to do.
You're gonna get more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing like Redeemer Church's parking area is still functional
Yeah.
based on.
I mean, it's pretty new, but.
I mean,
Their-
traffic-wise, that's gonna,
Their website's citing 60 years
60 years
Mhm.
with maintenance,
is that what it
right?
says?
with maintenance.
Under care.
25 to 60 years, depending on maintenance and application. Yes, ma'am.
I don't think that the church is doing this for any cost-saving purposes. If you look at the life of what you would get out of a concrete parking lot versus this is, it's more expensive. They're simply doing this because of the site restrictions and the detention requirements. So that's why it came up as an option for the alternative material. So just that, I don't know if we really kind of specifically said that, but they're not trying to get out of anything. It's just trying to help ease with the tension that everybody's got concern with, flooding everybody. So.
And yeah, I personally think it looks better. It's more natural looking. But
I mean, detention's my biggest thing. It's,
right. I mean, at the end of the
City
day,
were
we got
bad
to solve
about
both
it, so-
problems, parking and retention.
I think it's actually kind of cool. That's why I was asking all these questions. No, I'd never actually seen it. I've been through the parking lot at Redeemer, but I guess I just didn't pay attention to it. So, yeah,
It almost feels like asphalt once you get used to it, and it's just the dark cover.
Okay. Any additional questions?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, like, since it is kind of new for this our, areas, and we don't know actually, how long it's going to be, good until, say, somebody says, depends on the maintenance and all kinds of, like, how much pressure you're going to put in there. Is the city has, like, of course, for the asphalt or for the concrete, you approve it, you done. For these types of, those kind of new kind of, I definitely, I like it really, frankly speaking. But do the city has any kinds of like requirement they can go inspect those like every 4 or 5 years? Or at least if you see really messed up, like the parking lot, and maybe the owner don't care because he doesn't have business much really, and so for the good for the city, we don't like to see those types of pictures, when they're driving around, at least for this city. So do the city has any kinds of requirement then, at least for this type of scenarios?
So we do not, because we do not allow this based on our criteria manual, and we encourage it as part of our comprehensive master plan, and that's why we'll have to take it on a case-by-case basis. We'll have to depend on the manufacturer's specifications and their, they also have like maintenance-related information and stuff. We'll have to depend on that. And on this particular one, plans were submitted. Those were heavy and huge plans, so we did not include every single detail in the the report. But our associate engineer Percy and city engineer and city manager, they've reviewed those plans. We reviewed it electronically. They needed more details, and they needed to kind of actually go back and look onto physical paper copies. So paper copies were requested, they were brought in. So they've reviewed the specifications, and based on their review, they are recommending approval. And it may not be a one standard fits all situation. So another business may want a different product or a different company, if there is one, I don't know. And even if they're going with the same company, they may be proposing a different grade of product that may or may not work. So we'll have to do it on a case-by-case basis. In terms of the inspection, since we're including that as a condition, maintenance-related slips or misses would be enforceable by our code enforcement office.
But those are the beginning of the project, right? Not the inspection like every yearly or 5 yearly. Like, for example, if damage happens, it's going to happen not today.
Yeah, it can be an inspection on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, code enforcement
Code enforcement is driving around
would
and
be
seeing maintenance.
at any
concerns,
time.
That'll be a violation of it.
I would say that the fire marshal would include that on his inspection as well.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah. Fire marshal would.
Egress. Okay. Mary Ann, you had a question? You're good now? Okay. Other questions? Nothing? Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion then? There are.
I will make a motion to approve item J with the listed conditions.
I second that.
All those in favor? And the motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Okay. One more big one. Consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council ordinance number 2023-0-45. This is regarding the 82.6 acres into the PUD. Jose?
So on this one, we have our, the developer and the land planner and the applicant here in the audience. Would you all want to speak to the commission about the project?
Good afternoon, Adam Francis with PG. I'm the applicant and planner for the project. This is the property owner, Bill Kaczynski with Community Partners, here to answer any questions that you might have pertaining to this proposed project.
I guess, do you just want to give us a brief description of what it is, so everybody in the audience is got a little understanding as well?
Sure, yeah, so this is 82.6 acres located at 288 and 58. Proposed Manvel Parkway is proposed to bifurcate the site along the east side. It's currently donated by GCWA Canal to the north and one to the east as well. Mr. Kaczynski intends to develop this property as a mixed-use commercial development consisting of retail, restaurants, and hotel. This property's been in his family a long time, and if you wanted to elaborate on that further. I'm happy to do so.
Yes. Our plan is that this will be a commercial development. We will not have any residential or housing on this property. It will strictly be commercial. We'll have, this is our first step in it to do the zoning for the property so that we all have a common zoning, that we all sort of go together down this road together and whatever is developed there. We're going to sell the lots and the property. We will not build properties. We're going to build all the infrastructure. We're going to build the roads. We're going to build the drainage. We're going to provide the wastewater. We will have a commercial owners association and to enforce the standards that we're setting up for the property.
Thanks, sir.
In terms of zoning, just to add, currently the property is zoned OPUD, which was like a former designation for what we now have PUD, and the applicant is requesting that a PUD document be adopted. That includes all the development standards for the property, and the designation be changed from OPUD to PUD. The agenda data sheet that I included kind of summarizes some of the broad topics that the PUD document includes, and for the most part, it defaults to the zoning requirements that we have and the zoning ordinance and other development standards that we have. And if the PUD doesn't specify anything, it would default to the standards that we have today in terms of our design criteria manual and other adopted codes. Land use wise, the land use allowance is exactly same as what we have for the light commercial district, both permitted uses as well as the SUP uses. Development standards, again, the setback requirements all default to what we currently have. The PUD document is proposing like a maximum height allowance for 35 feet for pad sites, 60 feet for commercial anchor large tenants, and 90 feet for multi-story uses like the medical uses. The applicant is also including building material related standards that would require like 75% masonry product requirements. In terms of landscape requirement, the end result is not going to deviate much from what we require in our landscape regulations, but they've proposed some alternate requirements based on caliper sizes and which allowed certain flexibility in terms of where the trees are planted, and I believe but they do have a minimum requirement that so many trees would be planted. Signage defaults to the city standards. The utility will be provided by MUD 79, which was a consent for which was granted by the city council. However, they're working on a utility service agreement with the city that hasn't been finalized yet. A traffic impact analysis was submitted for staff's review and approval. And based on all of that, staff is recommending approval of ordinance number 2023-0-44 and adoption of the document.
Okay.
Question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to make sure I understood what you said. So you're going to build the roads, the infrastructure and all that, and then are you going to sell them as lots then? For people to build their own building on?
For their own businesses.
Okay,
But they have to conform to the rules of the PUD.
okay.
And which is basically a subset of the city rules.
And then the commercial association, is that like a HOA?
Yes. So
Okay,
the Commercial Property Owners Association.
okay,
Help take care of maintenance and have additional restrictions on top of city ordinances in the PUD document.
okay.
And we also have formed our own MUD. We're Missouri County MUD 79, which covers strictly our property. And so it will be actually a taxing authority to do reimbursements and to maintain some of that infrastructure that's going in. So the idea here is to give an alternative to businesses to come in. I mean, the town center with HEB is great. We're really excited they're there. But to get into their town center, you've got a lease. And you're going to be part of the leasing group. And we're giving an ownership option to a business to come in to buy 1 to 5 acres. We hope that's going to be attractive to businesses.
Okay.
Just south of that.
It is,
And that's the side you're proposing the detention on?
along the southern property boundary, yeah, adjacent to the existing textile state canal.
So where are those car dealerships in relation to that? South?
So,
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time over the years working with, we're on our north side is 58, and that's going to sort of slightly curve into our property. And it is going to realign with County Road 94, which goes down our east border, and that's going to be our entrance
Off of Croy or off of 288?
off of Croy.
Right, there's currently no access permitted off of State Highway 288.
there is a ditch on the just east of your property, right? There's a big ditch. I mean, like a canal.
That's the Gulf Coast Water Authority. That's their canal.
That's their canal.
And they run along our north side. And we're relocating the canal to accommodate the turning of County Road 58 into our property. I'm sorry, I can picture these maps since I use my hands.
With the building of the feeder road and all those overpasses, is that going to change the opportunity for entrance off of 288? I don't know, I know that's probably not your question, but, I mean, generally speaking, once they get a service road, off of the main highway, and it's going to connect all the way through.
I would think at some point in the future, I know the county right now is working with TxDOT because we all know they're wanting to expand the toll road south. So when that happens, I think at that point there'd probably be some opportunity for feeder roads there. And at that time, the developer or whomever's owning those property could go to TxDOT and maybe request those curb cuts, or wherever TxDOT would just say you can have them. If you're familiar with Pearland, when that feeder came in.
It changed everything.
Yeah, it sure did. But yeah, I think that would be in the future. I don't even know. I can't even say maybe through full out development of this property, knowing TxDOT, but it would be in the future.
We chose not to pursue going to TxDOT to get that figure.
I wonder why.
Well,
Yeah.
it was expensive, but we sort of like the idea.
Yeah.
That, we're sort of a close community there. We have an entrance that's separate from the freeway. And, we want to be a place that people want to go to. And not just a place that people see on the road and want to pull off to.
That road's pretty, I mean, right now, it's very busy, and I think a lot of that's because of the construction. I pass by that piece of property all the time. But, I mean, that road right there is not, I mean, obviously, there's definitely have to be some work done to it, because it's not very conducive to high traffic.
It's going to become a 128-foot.
On that side? On the,
East side.
okay, because the west side's better.
Yeah, and it will be a 4-lane with an esplanade with bike trails and sidewalks on either side.
Is that part of the city thing?
So this development is going to realize the thoroughfares of north-south of Manvel Parkway, where Manvel Parkway will pick up from south from the DeBello Lakes community, and then north as it eventually meets Sedona Lakes in the north. And then as Mr. Visinski was stating, it also realizes that realignment and expansion of County Road 58, Croy, into his property in combination with some other developers, that being the county, Ashton Woods, GCWA, and Mr. Visinski all playing a part in what that looks like. So there'll be two opportunities, at least from 288 before there's a feeder, where you'll be accessing that either from Croy or from DeBello Boulevard. Sorry, I blanked for a second.
So you're expanding 58, you're rerouting the canal, and you're rerouting part of 58.
Those agreements are already in place. That occurred. We often refer to it as a 5-year, 5-party agreement. I think it might have been 6 years, 5-party agreement. That was probably solidified about 1.5 years ago. So was a lot of moving parts and a lot of effort to get that realignment
Is it
put in
staying
place.
that same curve? Or is that changing?
No, that's changing.
Okay.
I want to know how you talked them into rerouting that canal again.
5 years. Well, I think
I mean, 'cause that's, like I said, again, so, yeah.
I think Mr. Basinski may have agreed to, pay for some of that, which might have helped with GCWA.
An expansion on our east side at a very low cost, and we agreed to pay for the curvature and realignment for them.
So just to add, this PUD document is one of the many entitlement, many parts of all the entitlements that Mr. Basinski has been working on for a very long time, including, design of 58, design of 94, coordination with the city, the county, GCWA, and National Woods, for everything going on in this particular area.
So just a few little pieces.
You can
All
see
the easy
it-
stuff.
You can see it in the exhibits that are there. Unless you know what you're looking for, though, they're hard to see, but you'll see sort of sketches of lines where the canal sort of curves, the road curves, 94 curves, and all these things happen. So,
Okay.
And on the other end, you're not coming in off of 288.
right.
So currently, developing this leaves you one way in and one way out, and a dead-end road on the other end.
Our road, County Road 94, goes north and south from our intersection.
It's an extension of the existing.
It's part of the city transportation plan. And it goes down Del Bello, and then Del Bello Estates, Lakes.
Oh, you're going to connect, okay, I see how you're,
We're gonna cut
So
down
we-
and
yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
that way?
Right. So we connect with them. We're talking right now about doing the bridge, which goes over a ditch, which is on our south side. And then it will go down, it goes through their development, comes out the other side, and then curves slightly, sort of matches the curve of 288 on that section and connects with Highway 6. So we'll have exits north and south. And then we'll have multiple exits as we go for entrances to 94. And both those will be substantial roads.
Okay. What other questions? No? Any motions?
No, I'm sorry, actually. Have you, the picture you're showing in here, this is your project?
This is we did this about 7 years ago.
Where is that?
I'm sorry.
It's not in
No,
Manvel,
this is
right?
what we had hoped what it was gonna look like.
Oh, you hope, but have you done any project like this? I'm just curious.
We haven't changed it, for the configuration that we're going with right now. But we will probably, hopefully do that, in about 2 or 3 weeks.
It's the only way I can get him to ask a question is if I call for a motion.
Exactly. I just saw the picture, like, oh, nice picture.
Anybody else? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. How about some motions then?
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
With or without any conditions, or were there conditions on this one? Sorry. No? Okay. Second?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? And the motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you very much. Okay, home stretch here. Consideration and possible action to direct staff to provide applicants written statements of conditions for any conditional approvals and the reasons for disapprovals of any plans or plats that were not approved per Texas Local Government Code 212.0091. I will make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Consideration of possible action to approve excuse committee member absences. Again, I will make a motion to approve. Second, all those in favor? And motion passes 6-0. And if somebody would like to make a motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
That's the most favorite one.
Mohammed?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Motion passes
at the door.
6-0. Thank you, everybody, for coming.